Good evening, folks. It is your girl, Tracy AWM, or in this case, AWMPAC. We are going to talk about keeping Miami Carnival safe. But what's going to be very interesting about this discussion is we're actually going to bring over a board member from the Miami Carnival. So I'm going to take a few minutes to get some people in the room. Hello to everybody that is coming in. We're going to talk about Miami Carnival safety. So I'm going to let some people, people are coming into the room quite quickly. So I guess my message came through. So I'm just waiting on Marlon Hill to come into the chat so I can invite him to the discussion. But basically, we're going to talk about Miami Carnival and the new Mask Up, Play Mask, or Vax Up, Play Mask initiative that's been released this week. Because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about how exactly is the United States' largest Caribbean carnival gonna stay safe? I know I have a crap ton of questions as a provider, and I can imagine that you as masqueraders have some very, very interesting questions, and this is an opportunity for you guys to field your questions. Now, I actually wrote down all of the questions that I received in my stories, but if you also have a question, what I want you to do to keep things a little bit organized is hit that little question mark box in the bottom right hand corner. It looks like a bubble with a question mark. I will occasionally filter through those, and if you have a question that has not been asked or I haven't thought to ask, I will also field them there as well. So I'm waiting on Marlon to come into the room, and I haven't seen him come in yet. So let me go ahead and shoot him a quick message. I hope everybody is having a wonderful week. My week has been relatively relaxed, but things are starting to pick back up for me work-wise. I'm messaging Marlon right now to come into the room. So if you guys are just now coming in, hello to everybody. Everybody is loading up in here. We're going to talk about Miami Carnival. I'm waiting for Marlon Hill to come into the room, and I'll do like a quick brief introduction of Marlon Hill. He is a committee member of the Miami Carnival. I think that is him there. Send request. Okay. Some reason that requested. Oh, hell, hi. Hey, and you got your mask on.
I'm ready to fet.
You ready to fet? Oh, that's awesome. So, hey, Marlon, I just wanted to first say thank you for just giving us your opportunity to actually come on here and set some questions straight. I know you have been a very, very busy man, and you just got back from Santorini, and so you didn't waste any time getting back to work. So I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for coming on this platform. So we're basically talk about, this Mask Up, Vax Up and Play Mask initiative that Miami Carnival has actually released. What's interesting is a lot of people are actually surprised about the reminder for people to wear a mask, even though that's been an initiative from the very beginning. So right. I think people were thinking that COVID was going away, and I think that with the surge of the different variants and some of the perspectives and beliefs about COVID from Florida's governor, people have been a little bit more wary, and so the bans have actually started to talk about masks a bit more, and people are really surprised. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that people want to know is how exactly is Miami Carnival going to look with COVID-19 protocol?
It's going to look very different, like every other event that we've been a part of for the last few months. I think it's very important for people to note that Miami Carnival, produced by Miami Broward Carnival Host Committee, right, which is a non-profit organization that's organizing the main events, Junior Carnival, Panorama, Juve, and the Parade of the Bands on the Sunday. But there are over 80 other events that are happening during the carnival season, starting on September 18th. You have Miss Miami Broward Carnival, the pageant, and then various other events, fetes, backyard parties, boat rides. These are all produced by private promoters. So if you are going to be participating in Miami Carnival, whatever your menu of events, and if this wasn't Carnival, if you were just coming to Miami and visiting, you would need to conduct yourself to protect yourself from the risk of infection, period, right? So it's Miami Carnival doesn't change the fact that COVID is here. COVID is here. COVID is in New York. COVID is in Nashville, Tennessee. COVID is in LA. COVID is in Kingston. COVID is in Port of Spain. COVID is in Bridgetown. It doesn't matter. COVID doesn't care. COVID is just looking for fresh meat like you and me to go, oh, you're not vaxxed up? Okay, you're good. I'm ready for you. You're not masked up? Okay. Oh, you're looking good. Oh, you're not distancing. You're not washing your hands with your sanitizer connected to your. So COVID is looking for the vulnerable people to be infected, and we have to do what we need to do in terms of the power that we have to protect ourselves. And Miami Carnival just happens to be another event that is happening during this pandemic, and we just need to adjust.
Gotcha. So how exactly, like, to the best of your ability, can you paint a picture as to how it's going to look different? Because, you know, when I think about Miami Carnival, and I went to Miami Carnival for the very first time in 2019, I think about these huge crowds and people clustering through those pinch points to get through checkpoints. Like, how exactly is that going to look different? Because I remember when, you know, we found out that we were going to have Carnival, I automatically assumed that maybe Carnival was happening because the bands were going to be much smaller. And so when I went to the showcase, I was like, oh, cool. Like, these bands are only showing 3-4 costumes. Oh, that's awesome. And then what happened? You had the big bands that got 13-14 sections. And I'm like, well, wait, how are we going to social distance Miami Carnival? How is that structure going to be different?
Social distance, Tracy, is dependent on the real estate in any particular event, right? As soon as I came back from vacation, I had a meeting this week with Dr. Peter Page and Dr. Erickson, Edward Erickson. They're both responsible for they're both the official medical directors for Miami-Dade County, right? And so they're responsible for making decisions on giving advice to the mayor, Daniela Levine Cava. She's the mayor of Miami-Dade County. For those of you who are not familiar with Miami-Dade, people think about Miami, but there are over 34 cities in Miami. You have Miami Beach, you have Coral Gables, you have Miami Gardens, but Miami-Dade County is responsible, the Miami-Dade County government is responsible for the overall public health of the 2.8 citizens in Miami-Dade County. But the Carnival community, we are in Miami-Dade, we're in Broward, and we're in Palm Beach. So there's going to be coordination with the public health officials in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. So what does it look like? They have approved Miami Carnival. You saw the announcement, Tracy. I think it was earlier before the summer. So they approved the carnival. At the time, numbers were going down. So they granted us the production of the event at 50% capacity. So we have to make adjustments with regards to making sure that we follow the protocol in terms of the plan that we submitted. So what is this plan that we submitted to them? In order for us to host Miami Carnival, we had to propose a very aggressive COVID protocol mitigation plan in order to show to them that we were taking this very seriously, right? Because the pandemic is still here, but in order for them to roll out from the lockdown and to open the economy back up and to allow us to have an event, we had to propose a plan. What does that include? That includes sanitization stations, giving out sanitizers at the entrances, giving out masks at the entrances. Some people forget their masks. So if you brought your mask, you're in your costume, you're drinking a drink or you're eating a snack from the support truck, and you lose your mask, we're going to have COVID ambassadors saying, hey, Tracy, you need to wear your mask, right? Because it's difficult to be playing mask and fitting and wearing your mask, right? It's not the most comfortable thing, right? In fact, it's a little bit difficult to breathe for some people, right? And you may need to take it off, take a little breath and put it back on, but it's for your protection, and it's a protection of your mask crew, because when you're traveling with your group, let's say your crew, your whining crew, right? Your AWN whining crew. Let's say there are 5 people in your crew, right? You know your crew. but you don't know the new faces. You don't know if they're vaccinated. You don't know if their COVID tests were taken. You don't know if they've been in a risk exposure place. You just don't know them. So your mask is not just to protect you, it's also to protect your crew as well, right? So the reason why masks are so important. So one of the questions, Tracy, that I asked Dr. Erickson when I met with him on Monday was, Doc, prioritize to me the key tools in our chest to mitigate getting sick or a mortality because of COVID. He said, Marlon, number one, you got to consider the vaccine. Talk to your healthcare provider, and if pick one, because it's not a matter of lack of supply or even the cost. It's available everywhere. It really is. And all you have to do is go to vaccine.gov and you can find out the nearest place. He said, number two on the list, you got to wear your mask, especially indoors. So if you go to an indoor fete and people are jammed up, there's a higher risk of exchange, because remember, COVID is airborne, right? So there's a higher risk if you have no one wearing a mask and COVID is rampant. You don't know your crew, right? So the second thing, you got to wear your mask, indoor and outdoor, to elevate your protection. The third thing he said was physical distancing, right? So if you're at a fete, let's say you're at Brainwash, with Private Ryan, and you're with your AWM crew, the 5 of you, try to stay with your crew away from the crowds, because that it's not going to eliminate your risk, Tracy, but it's going to reduce your risk, right? And you got to pick the fetes that you go to. The fete is smaller and a more closer, compact, the risk is going to be higher. And people just need to know that there's going to be a risk.
Yeah.
And the fourth thing he said was, you don't want to take the vaccine, get tested. Try to get tested. And we are going to be requiring to participate in Miami Carnival events. Travel with your digital version of your vaccine, or get a test before you go to the event, 72 hours, just like you're going to travel. And we're going to have testing stations at all Miami Carnival events. That is what we're planning to do. Okay. So if you don't want to take the vaccine, get tested. It's going to make us feel safe and safer that you're coming into the event. We're also going to have temperature checks as well. So we're going to be doing all of those things just to make everyone safer and healthier for Miami Carnival. And we can't speak for the other promoters, but we're encouraging all the DJs, all the boat rides, all the all-inclusive fetes, all the concerts, for these promoters to do some of the same measures to make their patrons safe. But I'm here to tell you what Miami Carnival, as the main producing organization, some of the things that we're going to be putting into place.
Gotcha. And so you just answered 2 questions, and it's very important to highlight the fact that Miami Carnival is happening because your team has consulted the medical professionals in that state, and under the plan that you guys developed, it has been approved. I think that's really important, because for me, even though I'm a medical profession outside of what's the coordination piece, I couldn't understand for the life of me as to why this was still happening. But now that gives us some context that it's happening because you guys have a medical team that is saying this is how you can do it. With the certain protocols and things in place. So that's
absolutely,
that's really good. Another question that it answers is how you guys are teaming up with the private parties like Soca Brainwash, SSS, et cetera, to keep people safe. And based off what exactly you just told me, you guys are not necessarily in control of the private parties, but I understand that you guys are establishing dialogue.
Yeah, we have relationships, and we'll try to, over the next few weeks, we're going to, even with some of the promoters now, you will see little watermarks on get vaccinated or wear your mask, or in the South Florida Carnival Band Leaders Association, they have a promotion, no mask, right?
Right.
So vax up, wear your mask. If you don't want to get the vaccine, get tested as if you're going to travel to Miami Carnival. Even though you're local, treat it as if you're going overseas. and you're required to get a negative PCR test. If you don't want to get the test and you don't want to get the vaccine, you won't be able to enter an official Miami Carnival event. Other promoters may let you in, but you are going to be at risk. And I tell you, when I lost one of my good friends, him, Mr. Wall, Marlon Whiteman, longtime promoter. This is before the full vaccine rollout was he got ill in the early part of the year. I would have wanted him to get the vaccine, and he would have probably, getting a call from a lawyer friend of his, he would have seriously considered it. But I'm just encouraging everyone, talk to your healthcare provider. Don't listen to the conspiracy theories out there. Make a decision that's best for you, right? And then if you don't want to get the vaccine, wear your mask, continue to get frequently tested so you know your status. Don't put yourself in compromising events where you don't know people, right? Because the likelihood is increased. And we don't want to hear 2 weeks after Carnival that someone attended a Miami Carnival event and got sick.
Gotcha.
That's the last thing we want.
Really quick, administrative notes to everybody that's in the room. If you have a question, as you guys can see, the chat is very busy. And while I'm listening and taking my own notes, it's very hard for me to catch all the questions that are rolling through. We can keep this discussion better organized if you go ahead and hit the little question mark in the bottom right-hand corner. I have an iPhone. I don't know. I can't speak from the other formats. Yeah. The bottom right-hand corner with the little bubble and the question mark. Load your questions there so I can occasionally check there and make sure that everybody's questions are answered on here. But okay, and yeah, I'm really sorry about Mr. Wow, and
yeah,
it sucks, and I think a lot of us have lost people. I lost people. I lost a lot of people. So COVID hits very deep for me as well, and it's not just because I'm a healthcare professional, but because I've experienced loss due to COVID, and I just genuinely don't want anybody to feel the loss that I have felt. Especially you talking about this is your Fenton crew. Imagine going out to Miami Carnival and then like 2 weeks later you find out that one of your crew members is on a ventilator. That's a horrible way. That's a horrible thing to deal with. So
and we can prevent it. We can prevent it, and we can also take personal actions to reduce the risk of that happening. And we know it, right? Because Carnival is a cultural phenomenon of resistance and freedom, right?
Yes.
There's a certain they fighting against the status quo and beating the system and storming the band, and Carnival is really comes from that culture. But when someone storms a band or is putting up a resistance, doesn't mean that they understand what is right. It doesn't mean that they don't know what is right. Our community, the Carnival community, is a very free loving community. It's a community that is family oriented. It's a community that loves the camaraderie and the joy that comes from our interaction. But the pandemic has changed our social DNA in Carnival, and that's the real frustrating part, because we know our culture is to be jamming and whining with each other and being in close proximity, but we're going to have to adjust our cultural DNA in order to be safer and healthier. So in order for Carnival to happen, we're going to have to really make some adjustments in order to do it right.
Gotcha. So another good question, we're talking about, you said you have COVID ambassadors. What exactly is the plan to enforce the wear of masks when people are at Juve or Carnival? Like what exactly is going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to be challenging, but we're up for the challenge, right? Every band has a responsibility for their own staff. Every band has a band leader. Every band has marshals. And then the Carnival also has staff. We also every year have a group of persons that are Miami-Dade County government employees, and they donate their time to participate in the Carnival, and they get days off in exchange. They're called ambassadors. They're called community ambassadors, and you'll see them in blue shirts every year. And so we are going to be working with them and along with other carnival staff that will be roaming the parade route, just to kind of friendly say to someone, listen, you know, I know you just took a drink, please put your mask back on. And we're going to be asking the masqueraders to also self-police each other as best as you can, because this is going to be a carnival of responsibility as well, right? We can't have the bacchanal fun and then not have personal responsibility at the same time. Whether you're at a fete or you're in your mass band, we're really asking all the masqueraders and the mass bands to really think about the freedom plus responsibility are not separate values. For this carnival, they are the same value. You can be free, but you need to be responsible at the same time. And we're asking for your help to do that because you're going to see the disclaimer language at the website. You're going to see the disclaimer language when you enter the event, that this event is the potential for you contracting, being infected. It is possible. We can't, it's not 100% free, right? So you're going to have to do what you need to do to help us to mitigate the risk.
Gotcha. So I think one of the biggest questions that people have is, okay, well, for one, we need to clarify that you don't have to have the vaccine in order to play mass. That's correct. You have to show a negative PCR or a vaccine card.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. So the plan. So you plan for carnival, right? You get your shoes, you have your stockings, you have your makeup, you have your money in your fanny pack. So you need to have your vaccine card on your phone, and you need to have your PCR test on your phone, just like you're going to travel.
Right.
Right. And if you forgot it, then you don't have your vaccine card or you don't have it on your phone, do the test. And if you don't want to do the test, unfortunately, you would not be allowed in, right? And we're going to be talking about this over the next few weeks, over and over again. These are the rules to be safe and healthy and to have fun at Miami Carnival events. If you want to put yourself at risk at other events, if they don't have certain things in place, that's fine. But you know, by this time, 18, 19 months into this pandemic, Tracy, you and I know people should know the rules by now. Don't pretend as if you don't know the rules, you know, so we are asking for your cooperation. So I'm happy to take any more questions from the chat. I know that you had some pre-promotion questions, but anyone that has a specific question about fetting and playing mass safely, I'm happy to answer.
Gotcha. So another question that I want to ask you before, I actually have a handful of questions in here. I didn't even see them. I didn't get an alert. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to get to your questions. How old does the PCR test have to be before Juve and Carnival?
Just like you're traveling, 72 hours, right?
Okay.
So you remember
So
a couple deadlines. So you remember the vaccine over 21 days at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to start planning when you're going to get your first dose. We know that there's some questions regards to the single dose, right? But you need to speak to your healthcare provider, right? So you need to start planning when you're going to do your vaccine, your first dose, at least by Labor Day, right? Mm-hmm. We're not discouraging late vaccinations, right? But what we're saying is that you know the timeline, right? But at least 72 hours before you go to an official Miami Carnival event. So if you're going to Junior Carnival on October the 3rd, Kiddies Carnival, you're taking the family, right? Then you need to have a negative PCR test by October the 1st. If you're going to the Parade of the Bands only on October the 10th, which is the day before Columbus Day, you need to have a negative PCR test by when? October the 7th. And there are various locations throughout the Tri-County area for you to go and get a test. And we do it for other reasons. So you don't want to take the vaccine, no problem, your choice, but still be responsible, get a negative COVID test. It's not just good for us, it's also good for you.
Outstanding. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of the questions. And one of the things I did scroll through is there an intent to beef up medical response for people that are concerned that they will pass out from the fet, the heat, and the alcohol. Now, me
Yeah.
personally, I'm like, hey, if you know that you might pass out because you're fetting in the heat with alcohol, then my rationale is you might want to regulate yourself. But
Yeah.
paint an image for how we intend to actually respond medically to people that might have complications with that
We
requirement.
we have one of the best Miami-Dade County fire rescue departments in the world. You saw them at work during the building collapse in Surfside. They were there working for 35 days straight. They're
Right.
the ones that are going to be providing the paramedic support for Miami Carnival, including the Broward County Fire Rescue Department. So they will be ready for any incidents. You know, of course, the usual advice as you give here on your platform, Tracy, is when you're going to Carnival, if you're going to Carnival in Trinidad or Barbados, where the route is much longer, you got to hydrate. You can't drink more alcohol than you are coconut water or water. This is a regular, you know, if you're going to work out, if you're going to work
Right.
out playing soccer or tennis or yoga, you got to hydrate. You know, my wife Carla, she's immunocompromised and a kidney transplant recipient. She has to drink at least 2 liters of water a day. Right? We need to hydrate on a regular day. I see you're drinking. And you see me drinking as well, water, at least 8 to 10 cups. And we're not even jamming and whining. So if we're in a fete or we're playing mass, we got to drink twice as much to hydrate, whether you're wearing a mask or not.
Right. Okay. So one of the biggest questions is there going to be like an initiative to separate the masqueraders from the public a couple years, like they did a couple years ago?
Yes, there is. It is. The parade road is separated. Yeah.
Okay. So
But you can see it, you can view it, but it's going to be separated. The mass bands. If you're in a mass band, you're in with your fellow masqueraders in your mass band. You're not.
now, because of COVID, are there heightened protocols to keep out the stormers?
Yeah, there's always heightened protocol to keep out stormers. The masquerade experience must be protected. You pay good money to enjoy mass with your AWM crew, and we're gonna do our best to work with the band leaders to do that, because that's even though in the Caribbean there's a little bit more openness with the interaction between the public and the mass band. For some masqueraders, it's not the best experience to be stormed, right?
Yeah.
And to have people that you don't know. So in a COVID pandemic era, you can rest assured that there's going to be heightened enforcement, not only from the marshals, from the mass bands, but also from the carnival staff as well.
Gotcha. So I have a very good question, and I am saving this live. It will be saved later on tonight. A good question is, is there going to be some flexibility with the protection measures as it pertains to Juve? Because getting your mask wet can make it pretty difficult to breathe. A wet mask can make you feel like you're getting waterboarded. And a follower asked, is a face shield going to be more acceptable as opposed to a mask?
That's a great question. The face shield is one other tool in the chest, but we're going to be giving out additional masks. Wearing the mask is coupled with social distancing helps to mitigate the risk. So if you're going to be both close and without a mask, the risk is higher, right? So you got to be constantly thinking, how can I not put myself into greater risk, even though I'm having fun with powder, oil, cocoa butter, whatever it is that you're jamming with, right? You can't have, we won't be able to have it all this year, Tracy, right? We're going to try our best to get close to the most authentic experience of Carnival, but we have to really recognize and be honest with ourselves that the pandemic is going to change the authenticity of who we are, and it's going to take some flexibility on our own actions, including how the event is actually conducted.
And some creativity. I think Quick Shop is Carnival somewhere. She sells those face shields that come down from here to here. And I can imagine keeping that mask dry underneath the face shield that she sells. So it's Carnival somewhere. If
Yeah.
that's one thing about masqueraders, us adapting.
And
We
is
just
there
get
anyone?
creative.
And if there's anyone selling waterproof masks?
Yeah,
You remember it's face coverings, right? So it
yeah,
can be different types of masks that's protecting you, double ply, to make sure that your airborne is not coming and going, right?
right.
So let's get creative. Come on, I mean
Yeah,
this is Carnival.
that's how Carnival developed, anyways. Our creativity and our resiliency.
Exactly.
So I think there's ways that we can all band together to think about something that's going to work. And the great thing is that we have time to think about that. We got another couple months. So let me go ahead and go
Let's
through this
plan.
list.
Let's
Yeah.
plan. Let's plan to figure out. You know your crew. You know
Hmm.
your crew is either going to a fete, or you're going to be in a band, or you're going to be hanging out at a restaurant. Create your own little bubble,
Hmm.
and to make sure that everyone in the crew has been vaccinated or tested, wearing face coverings, sanitizing, and staying away from people that they don't really know. If you can do those 5 things, your risk will be much lower than for the folks who are just buck wild, doing whatever they want.
Gotcha. There's another question in here. I can probably answer that one. Do you need the test if you're fully vaccinated? No, you do not.
No, you do not.
You do not need to do the PCR if you have already been vaccinated. Just make sure you have your vaccine card. Somebody also asked if there's a different way to do the test. The PCR test, is that the standard for Miami Carnival? I know some people do tests for antibodies and things like that.
No. We're just PCR.
PCR.
That's
Okay.
PCR. That's what we're
Gotcha.
working with the medical
Yeah.
directors to set up, and we'll be able to give you a mask if you don't have one. We'll give you a little hand sanitizer if you don't have one.
Hmm.
Do the test if you haven't done one. The only thing that we may have even a vaccination station. We're working on that. If you want to get the vaccine while coming to a Carnival event, we're trying to get that set up as well.
Gotcha. And to assuage people's fears about the testing, I know that when COVID first struck, and the gold standard was to shove a Q-tip into the depths of your soul, and you don't have to do that. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but that's what it felt like. Okay.
Yeah.
People are also able to test orally at the back of your throat too, so don't be scared to get the test. It only lasts a few seconds. It's a little bit uncomfortable.
And a quick tip from my brother who's a doctor. He says take a deep breath before they go down into your soul.
Yeah, go down into the depths. Are you trying to check my cerebral spinal fluid? Because that's what it felt like. Okay, all right. So let's check here. Will there be separate lines for vaccinated folks? Bayesian and beautiful, I need a little bit more context to that question. I don't quite understand.
No, that's a great question. That's a great question, meaning that if you're vaccinated, then you don't have to get tested. So we're going to create rows and signage. So
okay.
Yeah, that's a great question.
So it pays to be vaccinated.
It pays to be vaccinated. In
You have to
fact,
stand in line.
In fact, there may be some incentives coming along for those who are vaccinated. So stay tuned. MIA BRO Carnival.
Okay. Let's see here. That's exciting. Paramedics, plans to keep in the Stormers. Talk more about the event capacity. That's a great question. Bayesian and Beautiful wants to know, what does the reduction look like? Because it says it was approved at a 50% capacity.
Yeah.
Were the bands reduced to their capacity?
Everyone. The bands includes the capacity, right? So
Right.
Miami Carnival on the parade day is about, sometimes over the years, maybe about 25,000. So 50% means 50%.
Gotcha.
If the Delta variant was not existent, that percentage capacity approval could have been increased if the numbers continued to drop. But because of the surge, we have not been approved for an increased capacity, and unlikely to unless the numbers improve. So we need to do our part, our community. We know that this is going to be one of the first major events in the fall season in October.
Gotcha.
We know what to do, guys. We speak with each other. We're in each other's circles by country and by mass band and by different affinity groups. Let's do what's necessary to make this the best first main carnival. This is going to be a standard bearer for other carnivals to come as to the things that we need to be doing, because it doesn't look, Tracy, like COVID is going to just disappear and wash away, like some people said.
Right. And I think that with Miami Carnival, it's really important for us as a community to set a very, very positive precedence that will give other states, especially the United States, or even in the island countries, a confidence to actually have their Caribbean carnivals in the future.
Yeah.
You know?
And Tracy, I just want to say, because I saw a comment there in the chat, presenting a fraudulent vaccine card or PCR test is a crime. Please, we are working with the Miami-Dade Police Department. They are the ones that officially provide the county security at the events, the Broward County Police, and also the fire rescue. Please do not try to beat the system with a fraudulent vaccine card or negative PCR test. You could get yourself into a lot of trouble. That's way beyond Miami Carnival.
It's a felony.
Okay, so just try your best.
So, it gets people want to know, well, how exactly are you going to know if someone how do you confirm the validity of a vaccine card? I know I surf TikTok quite a bit, and people are talking about, I got that fake vaccine card for you. How do you, because basically the card is very plain, and my vaccine, it was just written by hand. Like, how exactly do you guys intend to confirm the validity? Because we start to think about like HIPAA law, right?
Yeah.
How do you confirm the validity of a PCR?
The card and the tests are officially issued under the authority of the state's health department and the CDC. Okay. There are notations on the reports and the tests that validate that the test and the vaccine was officially issued to that person from those authorities. So I'm just saying to you, everyone, do not try to beat the system. Please just comply, do what's right. It doesn't cost anything for the vaccine. It doesn't cost anything from the test. Why would you try to get a fake one? Come on.
Yeah. So you guys there's a database that, of course, we're not privy to, that they will go back and validate.
Yeah.
There you have it, guys. That answers your question. It definitely does not pay. I mean,
because would you use the same thing to travel to Trinidad or travel to Cayman Islands on a fake vaccine or test? And if you did, are you willing to be arrested by the FAA or the airline because you've done this? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't want to receive another call as a lawyer because come on, guys.
Well, there was
you can do better.
Two Americans actually got caught in Canada faking a vaccine card and were fined $20,000 each. Yeah. So they do have ways of figuring out.
We will have ways to verify at our events officially. Miami-Dade County Police will be right there to help us to sort through. We're going to try to communicate, Tracy, over the next few weeks as we prepare for the carnival season. The first major Miami Carnival event is going to be the Miss Miami Broward Carnival pageant on September 18th. So you have Labor Day Carnival, which is going to take a different form in New York. There obviously won't be any parade this year in New York, but there will be other events that are happening. So we're encouraging, the promoters that are having private events to put what they can in place to keep their patrons safe, encourage them to get vaccinated, encourage them to wear masks. If they're not going to wear masks, they know the risks that are involved. If they can get a negative test, like before the carnival week, maybe a good practice would be before Miami Carnival week, like let's say before Bacchanal Wednesdays, let's get a test, or you can get another test. The tests are so easy to get. Right? So if you don't want to get the vaccine, just get yourself tested frequently so you know your status. And your crew, if your crew doesn't want to get the vaccine, tell everyone to just get tested so everyone knows we're good.
Right. Okay. There was a question that I had. Let me go through my list. Let me see if there's any new questions. So my question is, now, aside from being allowed to have carnival, right? Because that's an incentive enough.
It's a big incentive.
How are the mask bans being incentivized to help enforce the mask policy? I mean, these bans are competitive. Like, is there a penalty if they're not doing their bargain?
are holding up their part?
The band leaders have been very, very cooperative and collaborative with Miami Broward Carnival host committee and Miami Carnival. They've been very, very supportive. They've been very, very proactive actually in communicating to their masqueraders. I know that they're going to be doing their part by providing masks in their registration packets, sanitizing. It's a great sponsorship opportunity. It's a great, even if someone, it's another sponsorship opportunity to have branded masks. Let's get creative. Let's get creative as to the private promoters. They could give discounts on tickets if you're vaccinated. So instead of paying $40 for a FET, the vaccinated folks pay $30. That's another incentive that could be employed. And we're looking at some of those creative ways to provide incentives for those who are being extra responsible and give them an incentive for being responsible.
I think another question that somebody had in the chat was that, how do we keep, with all the FET activities, how do we keep our vaccine card? Do you know if those vaccine cards are able to be laminated? Especially if they go to Juve?
Yeah.
How do we keep them from getting destroyed?
Yeah, you have to take responsibility for your vaccine card if you want to get it laminated. I'm not sure what the rule is against getting it laminated, but you got to protect it. Put it like you said. You have given this tip before. Put it in a clear plastic bag, a clear Ziploc.
Yeah.
Right. Put it in your Apple Wallet. Scan it in your Apple Wallet. Right. Scan it in your Apple Wallet, just like you would your boarding pass. Right.
Gotcha.
There's another state, California, that's digitizing the vaccination card. I don't know why Florida hasn't caught up to that yet.
Right. So, when it comes down to the vaccine card, what forms of proof are you going to allow? Will you allow a screenshot? Will it have to be through some sort of official app? Will it have to be a physical presentation?
It can be digital. It can be digital.
Gotcha.
So
it can say,
as long as it's the digital version of the original that has all the markings of an official vaccination report.
Gotcha. So you can just take a picture of your vaccine card, leave it at home because you don't want to lose it, and it can be presented.
Absolutely.
There as,
both the vaccination
both sides
card and the negative PCR test, just like you would if you were traveling, right?
Okay.
I had to travel to Greece. I had to fill out a travel authorization form. I had to have a copy of my vaccination or a negative PCR test. Right, I had to present that to the person before I got on the plane. In the same way, they see my boarding pass, vaccination card, and that's it. And then when I was coming back, I had to do a test, even though I was vaccinated, to enter the U.S. And I showed them a digital version of my negative PCR test.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go through here. I think we went through a lot of questions. Let me see if there's any more.
So, while you're looking for the questions, MiamiCarnival.org. That's the website for the official Miami Carnival events. But you and I know that there are tens and tens of other private events. If you have a favorite FET or a favorite event, go in the DMs, call the promoter, and ask her or ask him. What protections do you have in place? Have you considered this? And they will welcome your input, I think. Because you got to be proactive this carnival season for your health. You have to be more proactive. We want you to be safe. We want you to have a lot of fun, but we want you to do it safely. Find out where to get the vaccine at vaccine.gov, even before you travel. So if you're coming from New York or you're coming from Atlanta or DC, make sure that you have your vaccination in your Apple Wallet. And then find out if you're going to be staying in Broward or you're going to be staying in Miami-Dade County. Check the county website or for the locations of where to get tested, right? We're going to try to post that information at the Carnival website as well, so that you can know where you are and your surroundings and who's around you. You're going to have to be more cognizant as to who you are around when you're going out to eat, when you're going out to shop, when you're going out to FET, and when you're playing mass. Just be very cognizant about that.
Now, I don't know if I caught when you said this. You guys will have a list of places that people can go in the local area to get their tests done.
I'm going to follow up on making sure that information is there as we lead up to the travel time for Carnival. Yes.
Okay, outstanding. Now, how often is the team meeting up with the medical professionals to get a pulse on updates and the safety of the event? Like
Every
how
week.
often is every week?
Every week. So
Yeah.
you can see if you follow Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, she posts daily the positivity rates and the hospitalization and the number of cases. Follow her. She's the mayor of Miami-Dade County, which is responsible for the government of Miami-Dade. If you follow the mayor of Broward County, which is the county north of Miami, they post daily information as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be proactive. You got to seek out information. You got to make sure that you understand your surroundings, who you're traveling with, who you're fetting with, who you're playing mass with. And the better you can do that, I promise you, you'll come out of this carnival season healthier and a lot more joy, because Carnival was canceled last year. The last main Carnival was in Trinidad in 2019, in 2020. Yeah, 2020. But we haven't had a major Carnival, and this is going to be one of the main ones. And we gotta do the extra stuff, Tracy. We've got to do the extra stuff and be unapologetic for doing that.
Gotcha. And I wholeheartedly agree. Let me see if there's another question I had on here. So this one's kind of dark, but like, is there a threshold that you feel like your team will get at to where you feel that it may be in everyone's best interest to cancel or postpone?
You know, we are at the behest of our state and our local officials. I must tell you that we've been very proactive as a producing organization to make sure that we're doing more than we need to be compliant and to do our part. But
Mm-hmm.
there's certain things that are not within our power. Just in the same way that you have the power to do what you need to do for yourself and your family and your AWM crew, we're doing what we have the power to do to protect our patrons and our stakeholders, and we're asking the community to do the same, right? So every week we're meeting with the medical directors, we're going to be meeting with the police and the fire rescue, probably every couple of weeks over the next couple of months, as we prepare to produce this event that is significant in terms of logistics, right? If you ever produced an event, just if you're producing a fete, just think about the carnival 100 times what's necessary. So call your healthcare provider, speak to your doctor, demystify any of the myths that are out there, like what you're hearing in regards to fertility or your DNA being impacted. There are lots of crazy stuff out there, but we recognize that people are free to have their opinion or to where they get information, but you're not free to purposely create a higher risk unnecessarily, right? There is a responsibility that comes with that, right? So if you are going to have a great time at Carnival, at your favorite fete, or in part of your favorite mass band, or going to Panorama, just like you would go and travel to another country, just do what's necessary to come to Carnival. If Carnival were a country or a city, think about it that way. We want to bring you in as long as you're going to do the things that are you have the choice in order to be safe.
Gotcha. Okay, I think we answered all the questions. I had my little list, and this discussion has satisfied all the questions in the chat. So I think what we can do really quick is just do like a quick recap of all the questions that we answered, because we had some people come in a little bit later. So catch me if I miss anything, or if I misspeak. If you are vaccinated, you are not required a PCR. Okay, you are required to take a PCR if you are unvaccinated, and that you have to take at least 72 hours before a official Miami Carnival event. Okay, so you have to kind of plan it. There is a list pending that you guys will eventually be able to look up to make sure if you need to take a test while you're in Miami, we'll have a database ready for you for use. Miami Carnival has been reduced down to 50% capacity. Let me see what else.
And if America happens, that capacity could increase, but based on the current numbers, we are happy that The event is still on at a 50% capacity. So what we're encouraging everyone is to have a carnival COVID plan. You're going to travel wherever you're coming from, Orlando, Atlanta, Toronto, London, Port of Spain, Kingston, Jamaica. What is your COVID plan? In order to travel, you need to make sure that you're going to either need to be vaccinated or a negative test, right? You're going to be staying at a hotel. Your hotel has COVID protocol. What is the COVID protocol at your hotel or your Airbnb? What is the COVID protocol at your favorite restaurant that you're going to be? What's the COVID protocol at your favorite supermarket where you're going to be buying your chana and your roti skin and your jerk seasoning and all of that? You have to wear your mask when you go into that supermarket, right?
Right.
What is your plan if on your schedule when you land on Tuesday night and you're going to be here until Monday and you have your FET schedule, the events that you're going to be attending, what is the COVID plan for those events? What's the capacity? Is there any space for you to kind of be away with your crew? Is it a cooler FET as opposed to a concert, right? And if you're attending a particular event, what is your plan to kind of make sure that you're not around people that you don't necessarily want to be close with, that are not being compliant, right? Because if you are wearing your mask, but you want to take a drink, you want to be taking a drink with about 10 people tight up against it like this. No, you don't want to do that, right? So if you're, what's your plan for Juve, right? Is it face shield? What's your creativity? Do you have extra masks that are in your Ziploc and in your fanny pack so that when your regular mask gets with powder and paint and oil and all of that, so you need to change your mask and protect yourself. That's what we want you to do. And then if you have any questions, just call the Carnival office. Even, you can send me a DM on Instagram and say, Marlon, and I'm concerned about this. Where do I go for this? Send me a DM. I'm happy to make a referral, in terms of making sure that when you come to Miami Carnival, whether you're local or you're visiting, that you have the right information to feel confident and still have a great time.
Outstanding. We will have COVID ambassadors out there making sure everybody wears their mask. They're going to have sanitation stations and people even giving out masks to help you in case you did not pack any extra masks. The Miami Carnival team is meeting with healthcare professionals weekly and continue to monitor the situation. So it's really important for people to understand that Miami Carnival is happening because they were armed with that decision from the healthcare professionals in the state of Florida. And so that's really important because some people just think, oh, we're just having Carnival. They don't care about the people, they're just trying to, do whatever. But no, this has been guided from the very beginning by a very well-educated and informed team. So that's also, a bit reassuring as well. That 50% capacity is also very key because we get so concerned. Like you see all these bands, like, one of them's got a big band. We think we got 13 sections. Ramajay's got 13, 14. And I'm like, wait a minute. How are we
No,
doing
because
this?
the bands had to make adjustments as well in terms of their budget, in terms of how many costumes they need to make, how many drinks they need to buy. So there's a huge economic investment, and we're a big part of this multicultural tourism, heritage tourism economy, and the county recognizes that, which is the reason why they're trying to work with us to make this event happen. And we were moving in a very, very positive direction, so we have to be very concerned that these numbers are going up. And despite what you see on international media, life continues here, but life does not need to stop here, especially when we have the power to manage how it is that we stem the curve of the spread of the virus. The virus is just looking for the next person to whine on. If you want to put it in Carnival vernacular, the virus is looking for a whine.
That's funny.
Think about that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I'll let you get off and get with the rest of your day, and I'll go ahead and close this up. So I just want to say thank you again for your time. It's greatly appreciated. I think this really helped a lot of people that had their concerns with Miami Carnival. So everybody send some love to Marlon Hill.
And thank you for all the work that you do in terms of spreading the love of the culture and understanding the culture and breaking it down for folks. It's a real important contribution, and we greatly appreciate it. And just wanted to tell you that it's not overlooked
Thank
at
you.
all. And over the next few weeks, if anyone wants additional information, the Carnival office number is 305-653-1877, 305-653-1877. You can send them an email as well at miamicarnival.org. They're on all the social media platforms. You can send them a DM there as well. And if you want to send me a direct note, you can do so as well. But we look forward to welcoming everyone, and we're just asking you to be free, but to also be responsible as well, as we celebrate the 37th annual Miami Carnival, and hoping that we can do it safely.
Awesome. All right, Marlon, well, have a good night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Tracy. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right.
All right, y'all. So there you have it. I hope this answers a lot of questions, because I know that I too have been enlightened. I really want to thank everybody that has contributed to this discussion. At the end of the day, it's all about being safe. And you know what? You know, at the end of the day, whether you're mad because you have a mask, you know, we get to have Carnival. You know, and it's really important for everybody to do their part to keep everybody safe. You know, we get to have Carnival. And if anything, this speaks to the creativity and the resilience of the Caribbean culture, right? You know, we've always had some sort of thing or challenge stacked against us, and we utilized our creativity to overcome, to adapt and overcome. And guess what? This is no different. So if you're worried about, you know, is my mask going to wet? You're going to have extra mask, or you're going to, you know, get a face shield from It's Carnival somewhere that comes from here to here to keep your mask dry. There is a way to work around everything. Being a real masquerader at the end of the day is about being creative. So I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing everybody at Miami Carnival. If you have any questions, you guys know I talk to everybody in my DMs. I will also go ahead and repost the information for Miami Carnival's information office. Like I said, every chat, be a decent human being, wear your seatbelt, wash your hands, mask up. No mask, no mess. Have a good night.